Hello everyone, this is episode 19 of Here Comes the Pitch, a podcast about pitching story ideas. I'm your host Derk Harron, and in today's episode I will be pitching a sci-fi action story called The Champion to my guest, Latique Curry. I would compare this story to the movies Gladiator and Independence Day. Well, without further ado, here comes the pitch.
Wow.
All right, well, we have Latique Curry with us today, and
Hey.
I've known you for a couple of years now, man, because it's like, you've been, doing Second Friday, working like comic conventions. You're an artist.
Yes.
I knew you for like all the like illustrations and prints, but like now you're making comics and stuff, and what's the comic that you've been recently working on?
I just finished a book. It's called The Beast. It's a graphic novel I did for a storyboard. I did for company storyboard and graphic novels. They're publishing it. I don't know if they're publishing, but I'm working through the company or whatever. And I just finished that up, and I'm also working on my own personal stuff.
Oh, awesome, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking that out.
Yeah.
I know you said that you've been working on it for like a year now, so
Yeah, just finally completed it, man. It's no
yeah,
joke.
I saw some stuff on like Facebook and Instagram. You every once in a while you'd post up a couple panels and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's awesome, man.
Appreciate
He's grinding it out.
I'm working. It's hard. It's like, when you're breaking into comics, is man. It takes, you got to really like be focused, and you really definitely got to be disciplined for it. I realize that now, because I still see like John Romita Jr. They all sit there and say, they always talk about how you got the process and everything. And I'm like, wow, you definitely got to be disciplined for something like that. So,
Yeah, and
yeah.
like especially for the years that I've known you, you were doing a lot of illustrations of other people's artwork, like the DC, Marvel stuff, like all the. That was what was so impressive about you, man. Was like you kept up with the trends. Like if there was like that big 5 hero or whatever, you drew that, like you knew that movie was out, so like you draw that, like you were on it with Black Panther. As soon as Black Panther came out, you had prints out and everything. So like you knew what to draw to make sales, and that's pretty awesome, man.
You have to.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you're selling prints. I'm trying to like get away from the whole print thing now, because I'm really like focused on just doing comics, and that was always the end game right there.
Right.
Comics,
But that's great practice.
But
with the
it's great practice,
illustrations.
and then like it's business, getting that stuff down when the movie's about to come out, and that or any show or movie's about to come out, it's gonna be popular.
Right.
Or top, like you try to. That's the whole thing with the print game, trying to get those characters out, trying to get trying to draw up stuff, because that equals business. People like that, it's current, and you always got to keep up with. So that's working itself as well. So,
Right? Yeah, definitely, man. Like I said, man, you were always out there. Also too, like you're super professional. Like one thing when I was in school. To draw comic books. I got a degree in comic and sequential art with Tony Parker.
Ooh.
He was just like, you gotta be a businessman, and like I was just like, when I looked at you, dude, like you were a businessman, and you still are, of course, but you do the grind, man. You sell.
Yeah.
You make the sales. I'm telling you.
Honestly, I gotta say that's part of that is me growing up in New York City. That's what that.
Okay.
I grew up in the Bronx, in the South Bronx. So like part of that has to do with that. Like in New York City, you gotta be able to talk, and I worked in sales for a long time.
Okay, all right.
So that kind of helps with that. It has to have a balance. I mean, I love being an artist, and that's like my love, but at the same time, you have to have that business, like hustle, business mentality, because they have to go hand in hand, or else you're not going to make any money. Seriously.
Yeah, because I'm kind of new to the game. Like even though I've been dabbling in stuff, and I also have like another YouTube channel that I'm a part of. And it's also trying to get like comfortable with people, like
Right.
just being able to talk and put yourself out there and
Mm-hmm.
and get your stuff noticed. And
Right.
that's what I've been working with. Just getting my confidence up and until like I have something, to really show to the
Right.
people.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of like what I've been doing with my time is focusing on talking with creative people and trying to get their stories out there, and doing some art
Mm-hmm.
along the way to help promote their ideas, my ideas, and so
Right.
that's what this show's all about.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. Promoting and pushing yourself out there, putting yourself out there. I love it.
Yeah. I just want to... I know that you're strapped for time a little bit, so I want to keep an eye on the clock.
We're good. We're good. Let's work.
So, man, this weekend was, like, pretty big for comic books
Yes.
because it was San Diego Comic-Con.
Yes.
And it was kind of crazy, too. I don't know if you're a Marvel guy or a DC guy or a little both. Or...
I'm right now. I'm a little bit of both. I think I'm a little bit of both.
Okay.
Right now, I've been leaning towards more of the DC stuff lately.
Okay.
I just like with their creative direction over there now.
Okay.
A little bit more than I want to say than Marvel, but really, yeah, I love DC right now. That's what but I love Marvel too. Like right now, I'm reading Marvel. I am actually reading Old Man Hawkeye.
Okay.
Because I love Old Man Logan. I think I read that book at least like 3 times out the year. So it's like, to me, it's a good companion to that.
The Mark Miller one with
Millar and with Steve McNiven, which is like, those are my favorite. That's my favorite
Okay.
duo right there together.
Okay.
They did Civil War. They did those. And what's the other one? Nemesis. Then they did create their own one, which I hope they make a movie out of someday.
Well, now that Netflix just got the Millerverse.
Yeah.
But they just announced the first 4 titles that
Yeah.
they're working on, and Nemesis was not one of them.
What's up?
I
know. What is it? The Magic Order. The
Jupiter.
Jupiter's Legacy.
Yeah, and then I don't know, man.
I would have loved to see Kick-Ass as a regular TV
Yeah,
show.
just,
that would be dope as a regular
give
TV
us
show.
Kick-Ass, give us Chrononauts. This
Another one.
there was just there's so much stuff in like the Millerverse, especially like Hit Girl and Kick-Ass and like they could just like they could like build their own Defenders team through the Millerverse and
For real, absolutely.
and so I was a little like I don't know those titles that they announced very well, so like but I don't know, man. I think Mark Miller's a great writer. Of
Yes,
course.
he is, absolutely.
Red Sun.
Hands down, Mark Millar is one of the best. I mean, like honestly, like one of the my top 5 writers. Mark Millar goes in there.
Yeah.
If I had to pick a top 5, that would be like Brian Azzarello goes up there. Mark Millar goes up there. Even what's his name, man?
What does he do?
Snyder.
Okay.
I forgot
Scott.
his name. Scott Snyder. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hands down. Like those guys are just Jeff Johns, of course. Those guys are just amazing.
Yeah.
Man,
The thing that I'm reading right now with DC is Doomsday Clock. The sequel
Yes.
to the Watchmen. Like it's Jeff Johns, man. Like
Jeff Johns on point, man.
and the thing is too is that's so ambitious and to take on like the mantle of trying to do a sequel to the Watchmen.
Yeah.
Because already that's like kind of blasphemy.
yeah. But at the same time, it's like be bold.
Be bold.
Be bold. And who else better to do it than Jeff
Oh,
Johns?
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think that he would. I mean, even if Scott Snyder would, I'd be like, wow, that'd have been dope too.
Right.
I can see those kind of guys doing those kind of. I can see them creating something great with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we can even say the same thing about. I don't know who's actually writing it. I like the artist and I like the writer. I really can't think of the names off top, but the guy's doing Old Man Hawkeye. I'm like, wow, this is Mark Millar's story, and they're really doing a great job with it. You can really tell that they did their research on like on the original book, and then they really just expounded on it. I really love what they're doing over there, man.
Yeah. I don't know much about Marvel. Like, I usually I read the trades
Right.
or graphic novel when it piques my interest. But for the most part, I'm just a DC dude. But like Lately, I would say like the last couple of years, like I've been getting into more of the horror comics, the sci-fi stuff, and so like I gravitate more to the Image, dark horror stuff. Now, even like IDW, Boom, those are kind of the publishers that I look forward to seeing what they have.
Right, me too as well. I love them too as well. Image is killing it, man. Like right now, man.
Man, it's crazy how many new titles that they release a year. And
a month. How many
come
out? I mean, I'll see on top of the regular stuff that they have. Right. For all the new stuff they come out, I think it come out at least like it looks like maybe like I'm exaggerating, but at least like 10 new titles a month. It seems like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're always starting something up,
something brand new. I was like, wow.
Well, yeah, like I think that they had like they were saying like 26 books that they were doing this year, like that they were introducing with already the titles that they got going right now, and I was just like, man, that's like fucking. They're just putting it out there, man. Like, and that's cool too because they're it's creator owned, and I don't know, man. It's always like it's interesting stuff. It's original. Thought-provoking, so like I that's why I kind of gravitate towards that stuff more, but I kind of want to get into my pitch.
Okay, let's get it.
Because I know that for the next episode we'll talk about San Diego.
Okay,
but let's get into the pitch.
Okay.
So comic books. We're talking about comic books. I think that this would be a good story to turn into a comic book. Just like it's not like a running series. It probably like you could wrap it up in like 6 or 7 issues. I would assume, but pretty much the premise is that we receive, Earth receives a message from another planet, and it pretty much says we're going to take over your planet, but we'll give you a chance to fight for it.
Okay.
But what we want you to do is you have to find the greatest warrior that ever lived on your planet, living or dead. Mm-hmm. And you have to get that person to challenge our greatest warrior. And we already know that this guy's going to win. We already know that we're going to win. But we'd like to just see how far in evolution you've gotten with like your warriors, basically your greatest warriors. And so it's kind of like at first they're like, is this a joke? Like maybe Russia's like transmitted this message or something like that. They don't take it seriously at first, and then the explosions start happening. Like then they start to see like, oh shit, these people.
They're not playing.
Yeah, they're not playing.
Business, yeah.
And so then finally a representative shows up. And it's still kind of hush hush because they don't want mass hysteria, and so they say that let's meet up and we'll talk more. And so you finally get to see the alien, this other being from another planet, and they're just like, all right, either you give us the DNA of like your greatest warrior, and then we'll bring him back, and he'll be at his most prime in his life, and to take on our champion, and or you could choose one of your people from present day. So of course, like they choose like a mercenary ops kind of dude. Like they're just like, all right, well we'll give him the best weapons, best stealth, the best technology that we possibly can come up with. Right. The first fight happens, and you find out that like this creature that's their champion is like bullets don't hurt him. You know,
Right.
like it's come down to like it needs to be like hand-to-hand combat.
Okay.
And so that guy gets taken out. And it's pretty quick. It's pretty quick. It's like a cat and mouse type of battle. Creature finds the dude, eats him, destroys him. You know. So they're just like, what else you got? So now they have to get like the greatest historians. You know, they got to get archaeologists to find the weapons or anything that could possibly have the blood of like these great warriors.
Right.
And so now they're like on the hunt. Now it's like, all right, now we need science. Instead of technology.
Right.
To like come up with the next challenger. And so the clock is against them too, because like they've put a time to like, all right, when's the next fight? And this alien race, they're enjoying it, man. Like I'm sure that it's being broadcast to their planet, and this is a way of like entertainment. It's like they're pretty much their kind of Gladiator, Coliseum type of scenario for their planet. Right. And so I thought like maybe the second fighter would be like total brute strength. So there's this one of the greatest gladiators in the Roman Empire was called the Flame, and like he had killed like they say like he had killed like hundreds of people in the Colosseum. He was like this. He was one of the greats that actually won his freedom. In the Colosseum, and so they find one of the weapons that he used. They find his helmet, and they were able to like bring him back. They had enough DNA on it, and they bring him back. And now here's the Flame versus this giant creature dude, and they battle it out, and it's a pretty good battle.
Right.
But Flame goes down.
Okay.
Flame goes down, and like it was like that was a good one.
Right,
that was a good one. All right, so the third and final battle. Like this is for all the marbles, man. Like this is, if you cannot take out our champion, then show's over.
Right.
So the third guy. Now this is what I need help from you, man. Like,
okay.
Who would you pick for the third guy? Like, out of anyone that's lived on this planet, like.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
Because I would say David from David and Goliath.
David and
why I
Goliath.
say that? I'm gonna tell you why. Because this is such a David and Goliath kind of.
Right.
When you first talked about it, the first thing I thought was David and Goliath kind of thing. So I would like that would be let's get David.
Right.
And let's see, because he beat Goliath. So let's see. Like I understand we talk about if we talk about history and stuff like that. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a biblical story. It's that's a good one because there was this recent book that was published about how would David beat Goliath, and it became a battle of wits. That here's Goliath. How he's described as that he's like.
He's 9 feet tall to be be correct. To actually be correct, he's about 9.5 feet tall. Because they tell you the cubics in the Bible. They tell you the cubics. So he's actually 9. I think maybe 9 or maybe 9.5. Don't quote me, but I know it's like 9 feet.
Yeah.
Or maybe a little bit above that.
Well, and that's the thing is that if you think of it scientifically, that he had a disease. There's a disease where gigantism, and so one of the things if you have that disease, gigantism, is that they usually don't see very well. Like so that was a way for David to win was because and in gigantism, usually the bones are very frail, and so that's how David kind of knew, like from using the rock, using the slingshot, that if he could shoot from far away,
right,
and didn't fight Goliath, hand to hand, he would fall because like his bones are brittle, his skull would be brittle, and that's how he was able to kill Goliath. There was a book that was recently published, kind of like talking about how would David beat Goliath, and like this guy kind of goes into like all the science of it all. That's a good one.
Yeah, I thought that's one of them. That's one, I thought that, because it's such a David and Goliath. I thought, let's get David actually, because David was smart. David was like, but David was also smart. David was a as a shepherd. He was a shepherd. He was he was the youngest son. He was a shepherd, and he used to have to protect sheep from like lions and bears. That's why David knew how to fight. So he's like, hey, I can beat a bear. I can beat a lion. Right. Plus his faith in God. Of course, obviously, hey, I know I can beat this guy. David was very confident in being fight. So that's the little story on David.
Yeah. So, no, it's a good one, man. It is kind of like a biblical story.
Yeah, kind of like a David and Goliath kind of. I like that. Just like the big guy versus the little guy. Right. And we always root for the underdog. So right. Yeah. So. Okay, go ahead. Let's go. Well,
my pick would probably be more along the lines as a defensive fighter.
Oh, okay.
Someone that uses the creature's momentum against him. Tires him out. There's a I think it was in the Greek times. There was this one Greek wrestler who would use his opponent's momentum against him. He would actually wait him out because that was the thing, was that there was no he would wait days and wait for the fighter to tire so much that he wouldn't even have to touch his opponent. But I was thinking, a martial arts expert that comes to mind that changed martial arts is Bruce Lee. And that was one thing that he was able to use people's momentum. He was able to use people's power against them. Right. And he was also he learned how to use all of his strength, and use all of his muscles to punch a dude so hard without really having to do much. Right. It's insane. I was watching some videos of Bruce Lee and just how he just moves so fast and how he could counter so much stuff. Yeah. And I think wouldn't it be kind of crazy that Bruce Lee fights this monster at the end?
Yeah, all right, you look at it wow, this guy is just...
And it almost turns into kind of a Ready Player One where it's oh, you could be anything you wanted, and then it's we could bring back any fighter that we could think of. Only 3 times.
Oh, and
okay. Because there was only going to be 3 matches.
All right, but what if you splice their genes? So you go, okay, cool. Got the what's the name of this guy, right?
Yeah.
So from the Greek guy. Well, I mean the Coliseum guy.
Yeah.
Has the whatever reflexes of Bruce Lee, has the courage of David, has the what's the name of this, and then make the super whatever.
That would be interesting because that's what they're asking for is the blood. So what if you could splice the genetics to create a superhuman,
right?
And that's interesting, man. What if they did that to where that's how they beat the aliens is that they use genetics to create a human that's never been created before, but it's also a way of tricking them in a sense.
Exactly. That'd be kind of cool.
No, dude, that's totally awesome.
That could be kind of dope. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Kind of sick. I just get that. I watch that. I
read it.
I read it. I watch it. Read it. Whatever.
Yeah. So.
Nice.
No. So that was kind of the story that I had. Like I was just like, man, we call it the champion, because it's their champion versus ours. For the fate of the world,
I love it.
And I think that it would be interesting too that like maybe that third match, like the world starts to find out about it, so like they actually like videotape it, like they broadcast it to it's like, well, this is it, it's either we win or we lose, and then it's over. Like it's like they'll take over our planet, they'll turn us into slaves. I don't know what they're going to do. But in their minds, it's just kind of entertainment.
Right.
So they don't really care if they win or lose. It's just it's actually just kind of like a battle of the wits, and it would be interesting. Yeah, like yes. I love the genetic splicing to like to figure out how to beat
this guy. Yes,
this guy, this alien race. I like that.
It's amazing, man.
See, that's what I'm telling you. It's just like, just kind of,
bouncing ideas.
Just bouncing ideas, spitballing.
Right. But, I love it, man. This is amazing. All right, cool. I like that idea. That's a good. I think that'd be a dope comic to read, man. I mean,
it's just like a standalone story. Right. Like it would just be like, I'm trying to think of like. There was one that like I recently read, like it was like called like The Sword or something like that. I think it was published by Image, where it was like this old man like that has like Alzheimer's, and like
oh, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about, and he's actually like a god or whatever. Like a Greek god or something.
Well, he gets a hold of that sword, and then it allows him to like have all of his memories back.
Yeah.
Now he's like super strong, and then this like god, like he's like kind of like a demigod, comes down to Earth, and he's like, that's my sword. But then like the sword like talks too, and he's like no one owns me. I only obey to the person that I feel deserves to like have me and stuff like that. And then this like that the father of the guy that owned the sword or whatever, he's just like, I want it, and then there's like this huge battle that takes place, and blah, blah, blah.
That's a pretty. I read the first 2-3 issues of it. I remember that was a good story. I never got back, so I hope they got a graphic novel.
Yeah, that's how I read it.
Okay,
don't quote me on it that it's called The Sword or whatever, but yeah, I read that and I was like, man, that was a really good story. That was a really good standalone story. But the champion.
The champion.
You dig it?
When you doing it? When we doing it?
When are we doing it?
When we working on it?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, like I just have like all these ideas kind of like rolling around in my head, and so this is a great way to kind of get it all out. And cool, man. That was a great idea. Genetic splicing. So, well, thank you, Latique, for being on the show. Next episode, you'll come back and you'll pitch me something. We'll talk about it. All right.
I got you. Sound good, bro.
All right, man.
Thank you. All right.
All right.